Hello, Paul Smith here. Hope you're doing very well. Together with my wife, Anniko, I am a property investor. We have other businesses too, but we own multiple property businesses. And what I want to share with you over the course of this video is why the vast majority of the great British public completely and absolutely fail in their attempt to be property investors. Let's just take a look at what normal looks like. In 2014, so a few years ago now, Countrywide, the big building society, did a survey, a comprehensive survey, of how many properties the average property investor has. Now, before we even go there, what I want to talk about is what percentage of the UK's population are landlords. Now, I checked on Google, and Google tells me the current population of the UK is round about 65 million. And if I then take a percentage of those that are landlords, again, according to Google, it's round about 3%. So 1% would be 650,000. So 3% is round about 2 million people. So that's quite a lot. But are 2 million people completely and absolutely financially free through property? No. Can 2 million people come out places like this? We're currently in Portugal, in the Algarve, on holiday. We're out here for 3 weeks. I'm out here with Anniko and our two youngest children. The vast majority of people cannot do this. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you look at that Countrywide report, you'll see that in excess of 96% of landlords only have one property. And almost all of those are buy-to-lets. Now that's great that they've got one property. It's a little bit of extra, shopping money or a little bit of extra entertainment money. But a typical buy-to-let will cash flow you after all costs and after you've paid your letting agent and after you've allowed for voids and all these other things that you have to do, around about £200 a month. Now, of course, I'd rather have £200 a month than not, but £200 a month on its own is not going to change your life. And Countrywide say specifically that less than 0.7% of landlords have got 5 properties or more. Now, even if you've got 5, and even if they're buy-to-lets, and even if they're £200 each, you're barely breaking into 4 figures. That's round about £1,000 a month. So why is it that so if you then take the 0.7% of the 2%, that means 99.8% of the UK population are not financially free through property. And that's a very conservative estimate. It's probably close to 99.9, because I don't think you could be financially free with 5 normal properties. I can show you how to be financially free with 5 properties, but not 5 normal buy-to-let properties, which is what almost everybody invests in. So if you'd like to know more about that, then please stay with me. So if we've had a look at what normal looks like. Normal is 98% of the population. I don't have any investment properties. So if you've got an investment property at all, or if you want an investment property, you're in the top few percent of the population. Of those that are, many are accidental landlords. That's what normal looks like. So what does accidental mean? It means they maybe inherited it, or maybe, they had a 2-bedroom flat, they got together with their boyfriend, girlfriend, they moved in together, and they've ended up with a spare property, so they've become an accidental landlord. So I don't know if that resonates. I don't know if you are an accidental landlord. But so many people have got such a deep desire to change something in their lives that they look to property, they look to assets, they look to wealth creation to help solve those problems for them. So I'm trying to build a picture of what normal looks like. To have 5 properties or more is truly exceptional. So if you want 5 properties or more, you probably need assistance, you probably need guidance, you probably need your hand held to be truly exceptional. How do I know that? Because if that wasn't true, you'd have done it already. We've all taken our whole lives to get to the point in our life where we are now. That's just self-evident. So what are the common hurdles? What is it that stops people becoming completely financially free through property? And I'm going to say it's 3 main things. First is people don't think they've got enough money. And if you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. That's Henry Ford. I'm sure you've heard that before. If you don't think you've got enough money, you won't do it. Now, of course, to get into property, you need money, but it doesn't have to be your money. That's the first thing. Second thing number 2, people don't know where to find the deals. Almost everybody in the UK thinks they have to go to the estate agent to buy houses. Well, how about if you don't want to buy houses? How about if you want to make a fortune, an absolute fortune, through buying shops and factories and offices? You can't buy those at the local estate agent. So where would you go to look? Maybe you want to get into service accommodation. Maybe you want properties like this. Maybe some part of the UK. And maybe you want to operate them for somebody else so you don't even own them. This is commonly known as rent to rent. There's multiple strategies where you don't need any money. There's multiple strategies where it is so easy to find the deals because nobody else is looking there. And here's the third reason. So even if you've got the money, and if you've developed the skill set to find the deals, I'm sure you've heard this before. The skill set without the mindset will just leave you upset. You need help. You need knowledge, education, support. We all do. All of us do. And I'm nothing special. I needed that very same thing myself. Aniko and myself, we had very well-paid jobs. We were living the corporate life. Nice holidays, nice cars, big house, big income. So we were rich. But what we weren't is wealthy. We had no assets. So come the day that we were both made redundant, and we were literally both made redundant on the same day, our big salaries went, so we were no longer rich, and we certainly weren't wealthy. We didn't have an asset base that was actually providing for the lifestyle that we want. Now that was round about roughly 15 years ago now, and it took us 10 years of struggle to develop that asset base. And even then, we didn't truly become financially free until we joined a mentorship and mastermind program. That was the key that unlocked the door for us. Mentorship and mastermind. It took us 10 years to get to 10 properties. And we were doing fine. We were adding significant value. We were releasing equity from every property that we did. So, a typical deal might give us £30,000, £40,000 of tax-free income. But the residual income at the end of that decade was £3,500. That had taken us 10 years. Now, our financial freedom figure, the point that we were trying to get to from our asset base, was £10,000 a month. Now, if it had taken us 10 years to get to £3,500 a month, unless we did something different, we were going to take another 20 years to get to the £10,000 a month of passive income that we wanted, so that we could spend our lives like this. And if I just give you a little snippet from one of our businesses, I'm recording this in early July, on the 4th of July actually, so happy Independence Day to all of our American cousins. And for just 6 of our units, we've got nearly 150 serviced apartments, but for just 6 of them, down in Southampton, already by the 4th of July, we've booked more than £7,500 worth of profit for this month. So that is more than £1,000 per property per month from 6 flats in Southampton that we don't even own. Goodness knows how much money we'll have by the end of the month. This is the 4th of July. So if you would like to know more about how you can do this, I would like to help you. Okay, so for the next part of this video, we're going to move inside. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I've got a load more to give you, so follow me. Okay, so welcome inside. What I want to address next is realistic timeframes. Is property and property investing a get-rich-quick strategy? No. It's a get-wealthy slowly strategy. So if somebody says to you, give me X amount of money, and by this time next week, you're going to be a millionaire. That's not how property works. With property, you need to work on developing your skill set. You need support to help you fine-tune your mindset. You may even need to change your friend set. Realistically, we need to work with people for at least a year to move them from wherever they are now to a position of financial security, if not financial freedom. Now, maybe that sounds like a long time to you, I don't know. Next month, I'll be 54. And if I was just going to engage in this program at 54, and I knew I had a realistic prospect of being totally financially free by the time I was 55, that would sound good to me. So I don't know whether it sounds good or bad, but it is what it is. And I want to share with you some more common mistakes that people make when they start investing in property. And I'm stood in one right now. It's gorgeous. I'm in Portugal, as I said earlier, and look around. This is a lovely 2-bedroom flat that I've taken with Aniko and the children 3 weeks. This flat is hundreds of thousands of euros. Many people, when they decide to become property investors, actually go and buy a holiday home. So they tie up huge amounts of capital and lose money. And that is supposedly an investment. Portugal perhaps not quite so bad, but Spain, Florida, I know people that have lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds by investing off-plan, listen to me, by throwing all their money into a big hole and calling it investing. So let's get to the bottom of what investment is. Warren Buffett said this: never depend on a single source of income. Invest in an asset to create a second source of income. So investment isn't about getting extra things that you like holiday homes. It's about investing in assets that will give you an income. Very often people invest with their heart and not their head. They buy it because they like it. They don't do the hard numbers. They never do the hard numbers. So the first thing that I want to share with you is the importance of investing with your head. Never ever go into a deal unless you've got at least 2 exits. That's number 1. Number 2, capital growth. I hear this a lot. I've made an investment in a property, typically in the southeast, and I know it's not going to cash flow, but the capital growth will be great. Well, in the early 90s, I had London property, and guess what? It lost 35% in about 6 months. It's happened before, it's going to happen again. I'm not particularly specifically picking on London. I personally never make an investment on anything other than cash flow. And I stress test that cash flow. This is not what normal people do. I'm going to give you a resource. I want you to go and visit the BBC mortgage calculator. Why? Because when you put your figures in, it will say, for X amount of mortgage for Y amount of time, your mortgage payments are Z. But be careful, because at 12% interest, your mortgage payments will be boom. Now, I'm not saying you've got a stress test at 12%, but for the last decade, interest rates have been horrendously artificially low. 0.25%, 0.5%. And it was actually the first quarter of 2008 when the unthinkable happened from an investor's perspective. The interest rate available to savers dropped below the inflation rate, and it hasn't recovered ever since. Now, that is not a sustainable economic state of affairs. At some point, that will correct. Next, many people don't understand business structures and tax. They'll just go out and buy it in their own name. Very dangerous. You need to understand Section 24, the anti-landlord legislation. Should I buy it in my own name, in a limited company, in an LLP? What about the pension position? How do I extract money from companies? I believe investors with their heads screwed on want to know about this because there are some massive, massive tax breaks, but only if you know how to claim them. So what I'm trying to do is step through the formula that Annika and myself have discovered, and we know it works. We've worked with multiple different training companies. We've worked with multiple different mastermind groups. We've been in multiple mentorship schemes. So we've synthesized the solution that works for us. And we're extremely keen to share that with as many people as possible. So if you feel that working with myself, an engineer, Aniko, an accountant, with a multi-million-pound property portfolio that includes buy-to-lets, HMOs, service accommodation, commercial conversions, commercial portfolio building, shops, offices, all this sort of thing, pension investment. We own a letting agency, we own an estate agency, we own a service department management company. We want to share that depth and breadth of knowledge, not only for ourselves, but from our team with you. Because we believe that once you've got the solution, once you've got the formula, replicate, replicate, replicate. Einstein said this: the fundamental definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's clearly insane. But the engineer in me, once I know I've got a system, and once I know if I do this, this happens, that's called a system. It's repeatable. So as soon as you know something's repeatable, you do it again and again and again. Now the first year we cracked this, we moved from doing typically one project a year. That very first year that we got involved in joint ventures, that we started leveraging other people's money, other people's deals, we went from doing typically one, perhaps two deals in a year. That very first year, we did 43. That's 5 years ago, and we haven't stopped. So if you like the idea of learning from our mistakes, because we've made plenty, if you like the idea of leveraging our investment in all the extremely expensive mentors and masterminds that we've been on, then we would like to work with you. Okay, so join me in the next room and I'll tell you more. Okay, so I've got one more specific that I want to share with you, and then I'd like to offer you an invitation. So the specific that I want to share with you is our home. It was a fabulous, fabulous project, and it was our first commercial conversion. So in 2003, we bought a care home. Not because we wanted to start looking after, get into the care industry, although we have huge respect for people that do. We bought it because the people that had been operating it were retiring. They were moving to the Mediterranean for some well-earned sunshine after providing care to many, many people for many, many years. So we bought a 9-bed care home. Now, let me give you the figures for this, and you can see the pictures as I'm talking over them. So this is what Dunera, our home, used to look like. You can see it's very, very dated. You can see that many of the rooms hadn't had any tender, loving care for decades, many decades, I would say. The house itself has got a fabulous history. During the Second World War, it was used to evacuate children from Glasgow. We're told at one stage there were 128 children living in our house. Occasionally on a Sunday afternoon, we'll get perhaps an elderly gentleman with, little Jimmy, his grandson or granddaughter or whatever, wandering up the drive. This is where I used to stay during the war, and we'll let him in for a cup of tea and a piece of cake. The house is almost 200 years old now. And from the moment that we saw it, we loved it. So how do you combine a head and a heart investment like this? You find a property that you love, but you make sure the numbers work. So here is what it looks like afterwards. You can see all of the period features reinstated. Fabulous floors and fireplaces and high ceilings. Gorgeous kitchen. It's just a fabulous, fabulous, gorgeous family home and a wonderful place to bring up children. So we converted it from a 9-bed care home back to an 8-bedroom house. It stands in over an acre of ground. It looks out onto the Garlock, which is a sea lock. So effectively it's onto the sea. It's just a perfect place to live. We had never imagined that we would be able to buy a house like this. So we bought it at half price, or less than half price. We bought it for £450,000. We spent roughly £120,000 on it. So the total spend was about £570,000. And as soon as we finished, it was revalued at 1.1 million, and we took out a mortgage of £770,000. So effectively, round numbers, we were paid £2,000. We took all of our own money out, and we were paid £200,000 tax-free to live there. So this is the magic that a properly orchestrated, properly number crunched property project can do for you. You can be paid £200,000 tax-free because, of course, it's mortgage. We haven't sold it, we've kept it. So all of our money out and £200,000 on top. Who wouldn't want to be paid £200,000 to live in a house like this? And over and above that, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of equity. Fabulous project, really set us on the right path and really got our appetite whetted to invest in property properly. So I could give you many other examples of different property strategies that we've followed. But here's the common denominator. Whenever we've done something, we've done the numbers. Whenever we've done something, we've talked to people that have done it before. We've made sure we've got the right support. But I don't want to stand here and rattle out Paul's project, Aniko's project, aren't we clever? Because we're not. We're just normal people that have had extraordinary levels of support. In the next video in this series, I really don't want to talk about me at all. I don't want to talk about Aniko at all. I want to talk about people that have been on masterminds and mentorships with us. And I want to share example after example after example of what they've done with the right support. Just like you could do with the right support, as long as you've decided that you're going to do this. You think you can, you think you can't, you're probably right. So do you think you can? Do you want to? And I'm going to quote that little tiny green philosopher at you from Star Wars, Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try. And I saw this in a shop the other day. I collect quotes and I found this one very motivational, just on the wall of the shop. And it said this. It said, one day your life is going to flash before your eyes. You know, there's that kind of, well, whether it's a myth or not, I don't know. But towards your last moments, it's often said that your life just flashes before your eyes. So it said this, it said, one day your life will flash before your eyes like a movie. Make sure it's a movie worth watching. Do you want your life to be a movie worth watching? I know you do. Join me next time and I'm going to share example after example after example of how people just like you have totally, completely and absolutely changed their lives. Thank you for listening. You've been wonderful. I've been Paul. See you next time. Bye-bye.